All right, so episode 1, we're here.
Episode 1.
Yeah,
I feel special. I feel like special, man.
yeah. I think it's gonna be good. I think
Definitely.
everybody that listens to it is gonna enjoy it.
So who is our guest? Who's our guest today?
So the guy's Jordan Jackson. You actually have a little bit of a background and familiarity with him, if you want to.
Yeah. Jordan, I met while I was working at Under Armour. Cool designer, incredible sense of style. Really laid back guy. I thought that it was really interesting to tell his story. I thought it was important to tell his story because he's one of those people that you see him walking around. He's just like, that's Jordan, the coolest dude in the world. Little do you know, he's making some serious moves in the fashion industry, and he has incredible experience that I think that everybody should hear about.
Yeah,
so
and that was the thing. Like he would drop some good dimes and
Crazy.
About his history. So he went to FIT. He interned at Armani.
Yeah.
And then he interned at Under Armour, and then it kind of came full circle after he finished school and ended up going back to Under Armour, and now he's one of the apparel designers there, and he works with cut and sew, so he puts a lot of garments together.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, super interesting interview, and I hope you guys enjoy it, listening to it as much as we did making it, because he's incredible. Like he has a lot of really good energy, and it lends itself to kind of where he is now. You know what I mean? Like it's not a mistake that he's in the place that he is. He has a good soul, good designer.
Yeah, always been on.
So, yeah.
And you know what the other cool thing is? Got our first sponsorship.
We do.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Let's do it. Lyft.
Yeah. So Lyft, we got a code. What is it? $50 on the first ride or something? What is the code?
Yeah, it's like a $50 credit for the first ride.
Yeah. For new users, of course.
Users, obviously. So if you put the code in, you ride your life away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how far $50 will get you, but it's pretty good price.
It'll get you committing a crime, and then you can get them back home without trying to pay any money. So it works.
I enjoy Lyft. I've used it a few times, and then the cool thing is you can leave tips for the driver if you think they did a really good service. You can give them good feedback. They can read the feedback that you have, and then found out that they do a little bit more than Uber as far as the background check, so you'll be a little bit safer.
Right. So they make sure that these people are checked. There's unlike Uber will just hire anybody, any Tom, Dick, and Harry to commit. Doesn't matter. But Uber is not good. Use Lyft. Lyft does background checks. They make sure that these people have been vetted, and it makes sure that they're safe. They even get a driving test before they. It's incredible.
It's a whole process.
So you're safe in Lyft's hands.
Yeah. Oh, promo code.
Promo code. It's the podcast.
Yeah, branded. So BRNDD would be the code for Lyft. You put that in, you get your credit, and you can ride for free.
Do it.
Yeah. So let's get into it. I feel like I should do like a Joe Budden intro.
All right.
Welcome everybody. This is episode 1 of the BRNDD Podcast. I'm your host Donte Cotton, and this is
Ronald James.
All right, and
brand new edition. New edition.
Well, all right, and
this is Giorgio. Oh.
Did you want to intro yourself, or do you want to do it?
Go ahead, Joe. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Jordan Jackson. I'm an apparel designer, artist. Do a bunch of different things, but cool with Ronald. So I know that this was their first podcast. They wanted to have somebody on. So I said, yeah, let's do it.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah,
appreciate it. It's kind of short notice too, so
yeah. Thank you.
It's good.
So Jordan's a really cool dude, very creative. We have it's a little gap in our age, but I noticed that there was a dignity about him, real coolness to him, and that's what kind of drew me to him. So tell me about your background. Where'd you grow up?
Right.
Yeah, so I'm originally born in Baltimore, and live in Northeast Baltimore now, which is actually where I was born and where I grew up. And then moved out to Prince George's County and went there. I was living out there for a while too. Went to high school and everything out there, and then basically what I was doing as a young child pretty much was like started drawing probably like the age of 3, and my mother would always like be seeing like the different little doodles I was doing and everything. She would have them up on the refrigerator, all that kind of stuff. Then, you start going to school and you're supposed to be paying attention and doing your work. And I'm like drawing on my pages and my like worksheets and stuff like that. So then that's when it kind of became a little bit of like, all right, you need to start like focusing in and doing your schoolwork a little bit more. But I was always, into doing art and stuff like that. And then I started doing like t-shirts and when I was in middle school. And I guess kind of like if you think like the like Mesquite shirts, it was like the painted Mesquite type shirts.
You did those?
Doing those. Yeah.
Did you have a name of your brand back in the day?
I did.
What was it?
It was called Original State of Mind. Which
that was not a corny name at all. It's a good name. It's a good name.
And so I used to just write that at the bottom of the design. So I would do like whatever I was drawing on the top of the shirt, and at the bottom I would just like write Original State of Mind and some other little tagline. I can't remember what it was, but I would like write that on there, and then I was like, you know what, that could just be the name of it. So then I just started thinking about a logo and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Kind of evolved it from there. You
had like a legitimate plan as a youngster.
Right.
Like,
I was like, I gotta make these shirts. Like,
right.
I was always trying to do that, and I was playing football too at the same time. So I'd be like going to football practice, and I would come home with like paint shirts and stuff. So I was just trying to do both. I thought I was gonna be a football star too at the same time. So
cool.
Yeah. And then after high school, I was still doing the t-shirt thing at that time, and then went to Morehouse for a couple years. And while I was there, I was doing business marketing, and it was cool. I was thinking like, I want to do marketing so I can learn how to sell my shirts or whatever.
Smart.
But then while I was there, I just was like, that's when I kind of got into like doing spray painting and graffiti and stuff like that in Atlanta. And so then everything took on a whole nother, like, it grew its own life. And then I just got like engulfed into the whole creative process even more, wanted to get into like cut and sew apparel and stuff like that. And I just didn't know like what to do, like how to get into it, and thankfully I had some friends that, through some mutual friends I met that went to SCAD in Atlanta, and they really put me on to the whole process of what it takes to like actually make garments. Like they were in the fashion design programs and things. So, they were like sneaking me into the school, and I was like in SCAD, like using some sewing machines and just watching them do their projects and things like that. So it was really cool. Kind of opened my whole eyes to like what art school was. Yeah. Cause I never even knew it existed, like a fashion type school, so, and then I decided to transfer from Morehouse and then go to FIT in New York and did the menswear program there, and had like a little bit of pushback from my family because they're like, you gonna leave Morehouse? Like that's the, that's like, Black Harvard, what I mean? Right. So I'm like, yeah, I'm about to leave, but the good thing was my mother was like, if you apply and get in, then you can go, because you're wasting my money, at Morehouse right now. Yeah. So she's like, but you better get a job when you leave out of there. So
let me ask you a question kind of related to that. So you're getting into something a little different, because I think that in general, when it comes to design, people think about printing designs on shirts. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is great, which is a great part of it. But it sounds like you get into creating pieces from scratch. Yeah. Tell me about that process, how it started, like, and what was the first piece you did?
Well, what was the transition from like painting the shirts? Was that like just a side hustle and then you got into?
Yeah. Okay. So it started off painting shirts. Then went to doing like airbrushing shirts and stuff. Yo, I did everything, yo.
Did you do any funeral airbrush shirts?
I did. I used to do all that stuff. I did some like RIP shirts.
Of course, you're black and from Baltimore. You did a rest in peace shirt. Everybody did one.
I think that's like a rite of passage in apparel design.
We did. Like,
Boosie Jenkins.
RIP shirts with. Like, you get the picture, you print it out on the iron-on paper, and you like iron it onto the shirt. Then after that, I did like painting and stuff around it. You know, we did all kind of stuff, man. Matching all the shoe colors. Yeah. Everybody, these J's coming out. I need purple and green shirt to go with my grapes. So yeah, did all that kind of stuff, and then I transitioned into like the screen printing thing. Doing screen printing. I didn't print anything myself until recently, but at the time I was figuring out kind of how the process worked of like working with screen printers, get your artwork done and sending it over to them and everything. And at that time I wasn't even using any computer programs. I didn't learn the computer programs until late. I was doing everything by hand, like sketching and drawing stuff out like that, you know. So and then from there, it went into the cut and sew when I transitioned into at FIT and doing the menswear program. The first piece I made was, what was it, man? We had so many crazy projects. We had, the first thing we made was like this little like crop top like shirt. It was like a half a shirt. Okay. And it was basically just for us to get the sewing process down. And it was like a real weird looking thing, but that was probably the first piece I made. And then after that, I started to like learn some of the basics of like the techniques. And then I was like, okay, I see now how you can flip these little basic things into full out garments that people are gonna like. But I remember I almost got put out the program, out of the FIT program. Yeah. Wow. The professor like pulled me and another one of my classmates into a room after, it was like probably after our first semester. And I know he was telling me like, you got the art skill, you can draw, but like you need to learn how to sew. Like your sewing is not good, like your stuff is falling apart, it looks raggedy, and I'm like, I've never sewn before. Like this is my first time like sewing anything. So like it's gonna be crooked, you know what I mean? But that was like a little fire under me to like, all right, focus in, try to learn how to do this sewing. Like I didn't really like to do it at the time, but just because I couldn't do it, I wasn't that good at it yet, but I started to keep practicing and getting better with it, and was able to finish the program out. Like if I got put out, I don't know where my life would be today, yo. Yeah. Like,
So for me, I kind of did the opposite. I started at a PWI and then I ended up at Morgan State. Making those transitions, did you feel more comfortable at one place than another, or did you feel like you didn't fit in when you were in school at Morehouse and fit more in when you went to FIT?
It was probably like Morehouse, like being in Atlanta was amazing. Like it was like a fun time. Like I wouldn't trade that time for anything. I think it was just I wasn't direct. My energy wasn't directed into what I was doing down there really. So I was kind of like all over the place, And then I was able to focus and know what I was really there for when I went to FIT. It's a little different coming from HBCU going to not even that it's a PWI, more so that it was a design school in New York, like right downtown, like the Chelsea area, and then being like a black male being straight at a fashion school, like that's just a whole nother world you're not prepared for, mentally when you realize it, when you get there. So So yeah, they both different. I definitely like being at Morehouse, like socially, all the environment was cool. You had the football games, marching bands, homecomings, all that kind of stuff. And then you go to like FIT and like they had homecoming, but I don't know what
Right.
it was. You know, I don't think I went to anything related to that. You know what I mean?
I got a question kind of related to that. So,
Yeah.
FIT, your experience. So, you're Black man, and your cultural experience has affected your design style. How has it inspired your style? And what would you say your style is? It's a two-parter.
Okay.
So, like, you know, how has your culture kind of inspired your style, and what is your style currently, or is it all over the place? So, kind of getting an idea of that stuff.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, it's like, you know, our cultural experience is definitely like influenced what I like and what I design for sure. I probably by default, you know, if there was like boxes to be put in, my design style would kind of be like a streetwear kind of style.
Okay.
But as I've like had more experiences in design, like working at different companies and internships and things like that, my horizons for what I like has expanded, and I've learned about more things that fit my style that I didn't even know existed. You know,
okay.
So of course, like being from Maryland, like we've definitely been, I was influenced early on by like the urban wear brands that we had here, you know what I mean? Even the ones coming out of DC, the ones coming out of Baltimore. And so that was a part of it, like the usage of color and like things like that, you know, the different kinds of materials that I just gravitated towards kind of came from that experience. And then hip hop, of course, you know, influences it. I really like my father. He was a big like hip hop fan, you know, coming up in the 80s, you know what I mean? So he put me onto like a lot of music, you know, and so then I would be like looking stuff up online related to that music, you know, and seeing the pictures and seeing what these guys were wearing, and that kind of influenced my style too. I know like when I first got into college, I was really big into like the 90s hip hop look, that kind of like Native Tongues kind of look, with like the colors and then like the high top fades and the African prints and things like that. Like I was real big into that. That was a big part of my style at that time. And I think now my style is like transitioned a little bit into I guess you could kind of say it's probably more considered like the casuals look that they have out in like London, kind of.
Okay.
So
It's more fitted.
It's more fitted. It's more fitted, but it's still rooted in like street and active kind of stuff. You know, I love jackets, you know, like windbreakers and parkas and stuff like that with the sweats and sneakers, you know, like things like that. That's what I'm really into.
Practical stuff that looks good.
Practical stuff that looks good.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly. And my style kind of grew out of that from, kind of grew into that based on what I was getting influenced by and experiencing while I was in New York, and some of the internships I had, meeting people that were from England, and like, you know, just showing me like these different designers and things like that out there, you know. So
was that your transition out of college? Like you started doing internships, or were you doing internships while you were there?
Yeah, so there was internships were mandatory while I was there. We had to have one for a whole semester, my second year, which was mandatory, and then we also had an internship for our first semester of our second year too. I did internships in between school as well in the summertime. It was a 2-year program, so the good thing was I did 2 years at Morehouse, then 2 years at FIT, and graduated in 4 years out of college. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So you made a good transition.
Yeah, it was like, it was pretty seamless. Like it worked out well.
Running.
I didn't have to be in school any longer. But yeah, I did internships while I was in college. The most like notable ones for me really were I did an internship at Under Armour in the summertime when I came home, and then I did an internship at Armani Exchange. During my second year, which was real cool, and that's where I really met a lot of people that like from Europe and stuff like that, and had like different brands that put me on, like Stone Island and like the designer Massimo Osti, who like started that brand out in Italy. So that he's kind of like, now when I see things like that really like influenced my style. And it was cool because I was kind of on that track, and then I found out that like there was like things like that was being done like back from the 80s. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, you
so
see,
it's giving you reference points.
Yeah, it's giving you different reference points, and they have things to pull from inspiration wise, and it's cool. Yeah. So
wow, it's nice to hear that there's like the influence pulls from a bunch of places.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So how did this transition into your professional life? You said your internship was in Armani and Under Armour. What that transition into your professional stuff? Would you?
Yeah. So that transition right in. So basically, when I graduated college, I was able to come right back to Under Armour, which was cool.
Wow.
So so I'm in the active wear kind of like world now, in design, working on basketball product and things like that. So it's cool. So basically everything came back around full circle. Like, so now
that's incredible, man.
Able to do like designs and things that are like still rooted in like our culture, like Black people own basketball, you know what I mean? Like, that's like our thing, and the style around it. Of course, then the music is related back to it, and so you have all those different reference points to pull from, and it's cool because there's no need to like, I don't have to make anything up for it, because it's like, that's just who I am. You know what I mean? It's like where I come from, that's what I grew up in, all that stuff. So yeah.
Did you
like working for major companies like that, do you feel like it's easy to do what you want, like create the products and designs that you have in your head, or do you feel like there's some limitations?
It's always some kind of limitations, mainly because it's business, but the good thing is like everything that I do is like, it's coming out of my style basically. So I try, to push the boundaries as much as I can.
Right. Given the circumstances.
Give it all I got. You know what I mean?
So you still feel like you have your thumbprint on the stuff that actually gets out?
Yeah, for sure.
Because it seems like it related to what Donte's talking about. I think what he's kind of getting at is the idea of like, it's kind of like a writing staff on a TV show. Mm-hmm. If you look at the credits, it says it's written by Tina Fey, right? For 30 Rock, but there's 20 people writing.
Right.
How you feel about the idea of like, your contribution, your thumbprint's there, but at the end of the day, the brand gets the credit that thing. So how does that feel in relation to what you do creatively outside of business?
Right.
Outside of the, what you're doing for a living versus, what you want to eventually make a living through your creative stuff outside.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, you always have like, of course, Under Armour always gets the credit for it. You know what I mean? That's you sign up for that, so you kind of know that that's what's gonna happen. But at the same time, it's like anything else. You keep a portfolio, So so like the things I do that I really like and receive well, I always make sure that I'm able to, have something from that, just to keep for reference, keep it in my book. You know what I mean? And that's basically what you do,
Cool. I didn't even
Yeah.
Is there anything that you do outside of the professional world? Do you do like any freelance work, or do you still do paintings or anything like that?
Yeah, so I'm still doing artwork all the time. Like I really still love to do paintings. I do a lot of drawing still. I do a lot of different things. I used to like dibble and like dab and like doing beats and stuff, and so I started kind of playing back with that too. So it's like another avenue of creativity that I look into. I do some screen printing too, like on the side. I have screen printing press like in my basement, so I play around with that. Try different techniques. It's usually just like personal stuff, because you always want to kind of like expand how your mind thinks about things, so that you're not kind of like caught into one formula when you do design something. You always want to have like different ways to approach it. So one of the really cool things that I got from one of the designers that I'm heavily influenced by is the designer Massimo Osti, like I referenced before, from Stone Island. And the thing is that what he kind of started off doing was thinking of cut and sewn garments as paper.
Oh, wow.
And like the design being applied on top of it pretty much. So your fabric is like your paper, your design is like what you're printing on it, and basically utilizing the two as one. So everything that they do is done before. So basically the garment is cut, is sewn, is made, and then the color is applied to it afterwards. So they do garment dyes basically. So like everything starts off white like paper, then they color it.
Right.
They bleach out, take colors out of it, like they add chemicals to it to like distress and just do all kinds of things. Like, you know, it's just a lot of crazy stuff that they've been able to do. And going back from like 1982, you can kind of see like all of the progression of what they've been doing is really cool. I got like some coffee table books at my house. I just like look through like every now and then whenever I just want to see something just different. You know what I mean? Like, you know, looking at like the things that as a whole the fashion industry is doing. Like most people follow the same process, you know, like find your fabric, order it, get your stuff made, you know, and that's it. Like not too many people are really doing a lot with like, you know, garment dyes and pigment dyes and things being added to the garment secondhand, like after the fact, so that it has like that 3-dimensional effect to it, because it's not done flat, you know what I mean? Right. Like, so yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like going through that whole process, do you feel like technology is kind of meeting up with like fashion at this point? Like working at like places like Under Armour and stuff like that, I know that's kind of what they try and push, making sure that the pieces are functional and then the design is there as well. You feel like it's like coming to a spearhead? Yeah, definitely. Technology is like a big thing in design right now, mainly because the technology being used to this day to make clothing is like the same stuff that's been being used for like 150 years, you know? So everybody's trying to find ways to like improve and push that process forward and make things cheaper, of course, easier, you know, faster, like, cause you know, everything like that we have now is like right in the palm of our hand with our phones. So like, you know, you can pull up anybody's line from anywhere, buy it, get it sent to you. But the process of that company goes through to make those things, like, still takes like a year, 18 months, you know what I mean? So it's like everybody's so used to things being instant. Right.
And
that's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah, right. And like the clothing industry is not an instant industry like at all. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of technology out now, you know, whether it's like things being cut by laser, you know, to speed the process up, gluing stuff together instead of sewing it, you know, like it's just all kinds of things that people are doing now, you know?
And then that's the other thing with fashion, like because we're in such a hyper stage, you really got to be ahead of what's going on to kind of be on pace with what's coming out.
Exactly. Exactly.
You think there's an intersection between quality and price point? Like, is there is this something we talk about constantly? The idea that like Yeezy season 4 came out, and it's, you know, $300 a piece,
and then when the 750s, when they first came out, like the zipper was ripping on them, but you're paying a lot of money for these shoes, so you got to send them back and get another pair, they're not replacing them at all.
Right. Or you can go to Stussy and get a sweatshirt for $70 and it fits amazingly. Like, you know, so how do you feel about the intersection between quality and price point? You think that can never be a compromise where quality is met with a pretty decent price point rather than everything being like $300 plus a piece, or a jacket, a varsity jacket that's made by hand costing $700? You think that could be kind of an in between, and do you want to do that? You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's key. You know, clothing is cool to look at, but people also want to be able to have it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So like when things are like way too expensive, it's almost gives you like that unattainable kind of feeling, you know. So yeah, I think there's definitely an intersection. I think there's a lot of factors that go into it though. So like some people, like let's take Yeezy for instance, right? You look at the garments they're making or whatever, those garments don't have much going into them that are like really above and beyond your normal construction methods. Like I don't really know if there's anything really being done to warrant as much of a price, as much of his name being on it. Right. You know what I mean?
I think that came up recently with the I feel like Kobe shirts. Everybody was saying like they were printing on Gildan shirts and like he left the tag in and all that. Like there was
people were finding getting them in the mail and they had Gildan tags. So like I'm like, is that really whatever?
Like I feel like that's you not even caring at that point. You can
mask it a little bit. You have something like a high end tag inside, so people are like, okay, this is why.
Even if you're going to use the
right. And you know that actually brings me to a question. When you create your pieces, do you know like when I had my line, I used to do things to give people incentives of buying things. So like for example, the tag was like a lottery ticket. When you scratched it off, it had a cool ass message about a positive message. Yeah. Do you have anything about like your design that you feel is like an incentive, like pockets in weird places, or you know, you have that in mind when you design?
Yeah. You always have those discovery details in mind, and that's that kind of stuff is where you start to get that intersection of that quality, you know, and price point too. You know, because now like, okay, there's something that you can't quite see straight from looking at it that warrants a little bit more for the price, or make someone feel like, okay, they got a good deal out of it. You know what I mean? And you thought about it. You know, that's the main thing is like consideration and thought going into the design. You know,
that's important.
You know, so I think that I always think about that stuff when I'm designing. Like, what can the consumer like when they get this? How can they feel like somebody really thought about what's, you know, this product being made? You know what I mean? Like a lot of the stuff that I make just for myself, I do it by hand. So like it's just me making it, you know, which I think most things we buy are not like that. You know what I mean? Like it's not really, a lot of things are not made by, they're made by hand technically, because there are a bunch of people in the room sewing. So everything's almost made by hand, but right. So, you know, man, like I think, like I said, I think that's where you can kind of get to that intersection point, you know, where you have something that feels considered, feels like somebody took their time with it. You're not finding a random Gildan tag in there, zipper not ripping off, you know, like that's just poor quality control, you know, like somebody was sleep at the wheel on that.
Somebody dropped the ball a bit.
So what is your process like when you're starting with a design? Do you go look out and try and find some inspiration, and then like, or you find the fabric and you start, or do you start digitally? You start doing some sketches?
I start everything with sketches. I do all my designs by hand first. And so sometimes it's kind of labor intensive because I'll draw a whole line out and then go back and then make everything digital, like go back in Illustrator and redraw everything. But I can't think on the computer. So I can't think, like I can't play around with a design and an idea like on the computer. I can't do it. I just don't work that way. Probably because since I was a baby, like 3 years old, like my hand and the paper like together, it's just seamless.
Faster process.
It's faster, it's more comfortable. Like, so I work like that. My design process though, like, I mean, of course I do sketches, but you know, it's like, well, what am I going to sketch? You know, so I had to think about like, what's the concept going to be? Like, where is that kind of initial burst kind of coming from? And for me, like, people always say they get inspired by everything, and I mean, I'm sure you probably do get inspired by everything. I never say that, but I probably will see something that will like make me think about something else, you know, be like, oh, that would be cool for a design. Like I was looking at some things through, like I was looking at some 3D stuff, right, recently, and like seeing it if you look at something that's like supposed to have 3D glasses, it's like blurry, you know? So I was thinking about that, and I was like, wow, what if I did like some designs around that kind of concept? You know, like if, you know, the things are just like not, it's almost like out of focus or like kind of offset a little bit, right. You know, and like the way the colors are like set, that they're like, you know, you got the red and the blue together, and when you look at it with the 3D glasses, it's popping up, but like when you take the glasses off, it's just like a blurry red and blue lines. So I thought that was a cool concept. So, you know, just things like that I would think about, you know, and take that and then be like, okay, cool. Now you start sketching out some other things based on that concept and thinking like, okay, how does that relate to fabric color? How does that relate to, you know, the actual cut of the garment? Can you make something that, you know, maybe looks fitted, but maybe it's not, or maybe it is fitted, it don't look fitted. Like it kind of plays with your eye, or like when you look at it, you don't really know what to expect till you put it on, and then it's like, okay, let's see what this is doing. You know what I mean? So like, there's just different things like that. You know, I kind of take one idea, or maybe not one, but I take like a main concept or whatever, and see how that relates to the different parts of the design process, you know, and then, like I said, I go through and sketch it out. Yeah.
So do you feel like anything that you've worked on has been like really challenging? Like, have you had any hiccups or anything like throughout your career from the time that you've been working on, or feel like anything that you worked on wasn't to the quality that you had in your mind?
Yeah. Biggest thing, like, you run into hiccups like all the time is with like, you know, when it comes to like when you're working for like companies and you have businesses to run, you know, you always get that guy hit that target price, you know, that it's made, that you want it to be made for, so that when you sell it, like, they can make the money back. So at that point, when things are like, you know, you may build out like the most like amazing whatever it is, you know, be like, yo, it's got everything on it, you know, it looks dope, the fit is right, like, you just know that that's how it's gonna be. And then you get that cost sheet back and then be like, yeah, we only gonna make like $3 on this, you know, and it's like, all right, you know, some of the cool like zippers gotta come out, some extra pockets gotta come off, you know, might have changed the fabric a little bit, right. Like, so, you know, that kind of thing happens. And then, you know, so then it's like, you remember how that first one was, like the main version you wanted to do, your first version, you remember how that was, and then you see the one that actually comes out and you'll be like, sorry,
but at the same time,
on to the next season, you know.
When like you or I see it, Ron or I look at it, we don't know where it came from.
Exactly.
And we
think
it's the craziest thing we ever seen.
Right. You know.
Oh, all right. So I was actually going to say that. So you've talked about the process of selling stuff to people, like stuff you've made yourself. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the first time you ever saw a piece you created from UA on somewhere out on a website. You know, on that transitioning page on the main screen, on the main UA page. When was the first time you saw something, and how'd you feel?
Man, it was like, it's the most amazing.
You guys see his face is like filled with joy right now.
You're right. Like, it's like you feel it's that childlike feeling you get, like, that you just can't describe, man. That's how it feels, you know, like seeing people like randomly too. Oh, you know, like, I didn't even think about out walking around or whatever. They don't even know you did it. They don't know, Especially like, it's just different. Like in Baltimore, you'll see a lot of people wearing Under Armour, right? So like, when I'm around here, I see people with stuff on a lot, and I'll be like, yeah, that's one of the pieces I did. You know, people be like, why don't you tell them you did it? Tell them you did it. And I'm like, for what? Like,
it's a weird feeling because I've been there.
Right. You know, like, so like, I don't usually like run up to people and be like, yo, like, that's my piece, like, I designed that or whatever. But, you know, when you see, especially like you go to an event or something and it's like, you know, a team is wearing, you know, like a warm up or something, and it's like, you see the whole like team with it on, that's a cool feeling too. Wow. You know,
I think for being a designer, it's kind of like hearing your song on the radio for the first time. Or like,
it's probably just like that. It's probably just like that. Yeah, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, man. It's like, yo, we made it. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel.
That's incredible,
you know,
man.
And then like your mother, like my mother, she all the time, she'll like send me a text or like call me and be like, did you do this? Did you do that? And I'm like, no, I actually didn't do that one. Oh, because I've been telling everybody at work that, you know, my son did that.
Yeah.
My son designed that piece. Anybody can have anything Under Armour on. Like,
It'd be an old piece from
it'd be like
6 years ago.
He started working there.
Yeah. So
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, man. It's really cool. It's a cool process, man.
So being in the industry, have you met like anybody really cool or like anybody that you looked up to? And what was that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, one of the main things, like meeting athletes is always cool. You know what I'm saying? Getting to meet athletes and stuff. People that you watch on TV and then like you in the same room with them, you know, it's just crazy, you know? And then getting to meet other designers, like, you know, we work with a lot of different people all the time, you know? And when you go to events, it's not even that we always work with them. Sometimes it's like you go to different events and they'll be there, you know? So just getting an opportunity to meet like designers, you know, that have their own brands and their own things going on. It's like people you looked up to over the years and stuff. Like, it's cool to get to meet them, you know? And it's like you really get to like kind of put that face to the name, you know, of like, oh, this is who that person is, you know? Like, that's really cool, you know? So, yeah. Yeah, it's a cool feeling.
So do you have like a favorite project that you worked on up to this point?
Yeah, for sure. So as most recently, right now you can go, if you go on the UA site, you'll see like a UA Pursuit line that dropped. Right. And that was like one of the first kind of like major collections that hit all as one, you know what I mean? And it was like the marketing was there, you know, like the
stuff's clean, man.
Yeah,
it's real clean. It's dope. It looks like it fits really well. Yeah, I actually want to get a piece really soon. I've been eyeballing it, and I didn't know. I had a feeling that you had something to do with it, and I was like, I think Jordan did that shit. Yeah. I think Jordan did it. Yeah, it's too dope. You know, like, and not to insult it. I know UA's going into a transition, right? So like, Nike, while Nike is an athletic company that's really very popular, apparel isn't really their thing, like high-end streetwear. And I think UA is coming out of the gate kind of showing people that they have this thing going on. And it's a younger company. Right. So it has more space to grow, which is really cool. So there's like space that it rests in. It could become this like, almost like a high-end sportswear thing that people haven't really seen before. So that's the plan, you know. That's the plan is definitely to get that brand perception, you know. Like, people already expect like good clothing coming from Under Armour anyway. Absolutely. Just because it's what they're rooted in, you know. But, you know, when you look at Nike, like, they rooted in footwear. So people automatically thinking about shoes, you know, when they think about Nike. So yeah, that's definitely where the plan is, to kind of get to that point, you know. Cool. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So, what future plans, man? What are you looking at? What are you looking at in the future? Outside, so that we transition. You know, we know what you do professionally. Exactly. Yeah. Outside of it, what are you pursuing? What's the future looking like? What do you have planned?
Yeah. So, man, future plans, they're high. I have like a lot of like huge things I would love to do. I think I know Africa's in the future for me somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, I want to get out there. Yeah. Do more traveling there. Possibly move out there. You know, I think that would be cool. Right. And just to experience what's going on out there. It's like a lot of really cool things happening coming out of Africa, you know. Oh wow. Yeah, like,
you got anything you can kind of throw at us? Because like, I'm not really sure.
I look at like so, you know, Questlove has like the OK Player site, right? So he has OK Africa as well.
Did not know that.
Yeah, so they push out music.
Holy
from
shit!
There.
Did you know that?
I did not.
Check that out. Check that out,
dude.
Yeah, check that out. So like, music coming out of there, they highlight art, you know, actors, films, like all kind of stuff. So it's like Africa is almost like a dark shadow all the time, right? You know, like that's how it's presented. Like it's like what's going on over there. But then you start to like because we got technology now, you can look online and find like all kind of stuff coming out of there.
Absolutely.
So it's just like a lot of art, a lot of design agencies and stuff over there. A lot of clothing lines, a lot of fashion, a lot of music, a lot of food, a lot of all that. You know. So it's cool. It's really cool.
Opened my eyes, man. I didn't even know about that.
It's dope.
I think the reference point for me was listening to Immortal Technique speak one time. He was like, for Africa, like in that side of the world, it's kind of for like South America for us. Because you know how we always see flyers like you should travel here, go to Puerto Rico, or you know, do that. It's kind of the same way for Africa over there. Like we see like all the disparaging images, of, you know, cities like not really built up, third world countries and stuff like that. But it's parts of Africa that are really built up and really beautiful. Yeah. And as far as like the fashion side, I just finished up Streetwear Unmastered. That was something put together by Virgil Abloh. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. And it was some brands in there that were from Africa, and just looking at their designs and looking what they're doing, I understand what you're talking about as far as what they're doing with fashion over there.
Yeah, like I always check out different blogs and stuff too. So like Highsnobiety is a blog. They do like culture, art, fashion stuff on there, and they usually do like highlight, you know, 5 designers from here you should know about, or brands from here. And they did one, I think it was probably like 12 brands, like African designers or whatever that you should know about, you know. And then like I started like looking in there, and then kind of went down like a whole rabbit hole of like just stuff like that, you know.
And the cool thing about that is it's not something that you would expect at all. Like what the design is like, what you have in your mind, is not what they're putting out at all. Like it's really dope stuff.
Exactly. So that's a future plans. I would love to get into like just different mediums. One thing that I would love to do is like furniture, like woodworking, to do furniture and things like that. That's something I would love to do. I'm into like motorcycles and stuff, so I started riding motorcycles this year, this summer. So that's something I always want to like continue to do, and get into like the riding apparel and stuff like that. It's cool. Like, so I look at a lot of, you know, different jackets and pants and the way they put the pads in, and just the different, even like when you think about the materials being used for that kind of apparel, like it's like heavy duty to the next level, you know, and finding ways to make those things feel more like you can wear them like on a regular, you know. I think that's the main reason why a lot of people don't like to wear gear when they ride, like especially out here. You see guys just like full out, like just regular like clothes, sneakers on with the sock on the foot. You know what I'm saying? Like just
that rock heads as a helmet, it's like no protection whatsoever.
Exactly. So they want to be fresh. They want to look like they normally look, you know? And so that's how I think about like design too. I don't always just like want to force my opinion on things when I design. I try to think about like what's people really going to like. Like at the end of the day, especially for us, like we love to be fresh in anything and everything we do. You know what I mean? Whether you on the court, you on the football field, you riding a motorcycle, or you walking down the street, like you just trying to be fresh, you know? That's it.
That reminds me of, I was reading this incredible article about how the Hornets logo got created.
The original one?
Yeah, the original one. And it was basically like sourced by some high-end, they hired some high-end fashion designers. Like you should read the article. It like talks about the process. It was not just a graphic designer. They were like, how can we make this the best shit ever? Because if you notice, when that logo got popular, it was people in Compton wearing Hornets joints. It was people because that design and the court with the hive on it, it did something different. It was different. It was different than anything anybody had ever done. But it was because they had hired on some high-end designers, and I forget some of the names.
I have to look that up.
Yeah, it was like a whole process to make this, because they want, I mean, the Hornets, you know, nobody really knew the Hornets back then before the logo. The logo had me like, who's this team?
What team is this?
And that's kind of what design does. That's when I think about design, I think about that sort of thing where like, doesn't matter what it is, you can align with it.
Right.
And I think that kids this generation are kind of the same way. Like before it used to be like, I wear what this other person wears because it's cool. Nah, I think it's different now. If somebody sees something, you can curate your experience now. And put whatever you want. You can be whoever you want to be. You can pursue whatever you want to pursue. And there's something really cool about the potential that as a designer that does for you. You know what I mean? It makes it a lot cooler. You can transition to a situation where people are looking past a Nike to where your design
just based on the design.
Yeah, just based on the design.
Right.
Fuck the trend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's about what's dope, and that's why I think there's something really amazing about this time.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, because I think like especially when you're working for companies, right? It's all about like trying to be, you're trying to chase, to a degree, you're trying to chase the trends, right?
Right, absolutely.
And because you're trying to get market share, you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that, right? But when you take a step back and you just like a creative person, you always want to find that authenticity too. Yeah. Sometimes it don't come from the trends, right? Like sometimes it's whatever's like the new coolest thing. It just sometimes it don't resonate with people, and we've seen that where like things come and go like super quick, like
absolutely.
You go to the store now and it's like whatever that trend item is like $5 to get like 7 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It's like either that trend like blew up, popped, and like it's on the decline now, or people just ain't like it. They got liquidated now. That's like kind of how it works. And I think this just like what you said though. It's just like trying to find those things that you really love that you can align yourself with. I think that's the biggest thing, especially when you like you're trying to design from a point of view of like a culture. You want to like be involved in that and be able to pull the best out of it, you know what I mean? To like make those things that people will align themselves with. Sometimes it's going to be things that even those people haven't even seen before, Like we always talk about like people that you look at them now and we're like, oh, they were like ahead of their time,
absolutely.
Even like even if you look at the whole argument with Kaepernick, right? Like I'm taking it to like a whole nother you look at that argument of people like, they don't like what he's doing. But when you think about it, like anybody who's ever doing something like, that made any type of impact, like at that moment in time, people weren't always on it. People couldn't see it just yet, unless you were the people that thing was fighting for or that thing was for, so that's what I mean by like coming from a culture, coming from a standpoint that's you have a community around you, like, and what you're doing that people resonate with that, like those people are always going to have your back. They always going, because they know that like, you coming from a place where like where we're at, what I mean? Like, so I think that relates to like design as well, there's all these communities out here, even in the fashion world, that you got people that, they love these brands and they love what they do. They don't care what the trends are. You know what I'm saying? They just love that style because it speaks to them, You can find those pockets anywhere, you know what I mean? It's like people that love anything. If it's the purple skirt people, like they just love it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter what it is. So
So with all that said, do you have anything that is a favorite design for you? Do you have like a favorite piece that you'd like to work on? Do you like to work on a certain type of garment or a certain fabric?
Yeah, like I love jackets. I'm a jacket person. Like my girlfriend today was getting on me because it's still like kind of summertime, but it's supposed to be getting to the fall, and I'm trying to wear a jacket. Like I love jackets. Right. It's a lightweight jacket, but even still, like I love jackets. Still like 80-something degrees outside, but like, she's laughing right now.
Gotta embrace the jacket.
I love jackets, yo. Like any kind of jackets, motorcycle jackets, like ski jackets, windbreakers, like all that kind of stuff. Love all that stuff.
Okay.
Military jackets, everything.
You just a jacket.
Yeah, y'all, I love them.
Right. So when it's all said and done, and you think about everything that you want to accomplish, you're leaning towards it, and we have a lot of people that are pursuing that stuff. So if you could give us like a stripped down kind of bullet points of what a person who's pursuing this should look into, like steps, real brief steps of things you think they should do, essentials.
Okay, essentials, right? First thing I think you should do is, if you want to get into fashion at all, I think one of the first things you should do is like kind of get educated on it. So, which if you want to get into fashion, you probably already like looking into this stuff and all of that. So, but get educated on what it is that fashion designers do, right? Some people like want to be stylists, but they think they're supposed to be like going through like the fashion design like world to do that sometimes. Like, so from my point of view, like kind of educate yourself on what a designer really does, right? Then, and if that means also going to a fashion school, you should do that. So look into the different programs and schools that you can attend. Like, I mean, I went to FIT, so I can speak on my experience there. It's not a super expensive school, which was the best thing about it. 2-year program, in and out, like, and you know, you get your foundational roots, the computer design stuff, actual construction, and then like helping you learn and grow the process of conceptualizing like a line and things like that, collections, like those things you need to get like at the base. So I think all that goes in with like educating yourself on it, right? Then you want to kind of get into you want to try to get some internships or some kind of way to like learn the trade, whether that means you go in and like sit with a tailor or a seamstress, somebody you know, so you can pick up some of that pattern making stuff, like, and learn that trade. Like, that's the important part. And then I think it's just like exposure, like expose yourself to all kinds of things going on out there and see like, you know, how that stuff can influence your style. And then I think at the same time, it's good to kind of like find out what your personal style and what you like, you know, and because you know, you don't want to do something you don't like, you know, I'm not big into like evening wear, so like gowns and stuff, like no disrespect or knocking anybody that loves it, because I know a lot of people that love them and they do a great job with it, but like that's not my thing. So I wouldn't pursue that route, you know, to try and, you know, to do whatever. I always try to like go down like the active streetwear, like casual kind of look. So, you know, and you know, and I would say like you know, just do those kinds of things. I think that's the best advice I can give. You know, education is important, because if you want to work at companies, it is, because it's just like any other job. You're gonna have to come in with a resume. You have to come in and prove and show yourself, show like what you can do. So right now, like the best way that people can respect, you know, at the corporate level is like education, you know. And then if you don't go the education route, then you want to have the experience. So it may require you to have your own brand and work on that, gain some buzz from it, like get a lot of experience out of that, so that you have the work to show. So someone can be like, yo, you've groomed your own creative process. You have like that knowledge of getting things done, you know, and executing, and that's the main thing. So I think if you have your own brand or your own like thing that you're working on, and you're able to kind of push that through, that would be another good route to go, you know, and show that you have like that experience. Because, you know, like I said, going into like companies, you know, you can be super talented or you can be whatever like on your own, but it's always somebody that's gotta approve that, you know what I mean? So you can do things on your own, you know, to kind of get that way, you know, kind of get to that point.
Cool.
So,
So, do you have any upcoming projects, passion projects, anything like that you're working on right now that you can speak on?
Yeah, like on the side, when I'm just doing like you know, different artwork and things like that, I work on like people's logos and branding and things like that. Just it's another way of like, you know, getting you know, just different creative experiences. So those are some things that I'm working on. I mean, I can't tell you like who they are for
Yeah,
stuff
right,
like that.
obviously.
But,
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, so I do a lot of stuff like that, and those things are cool. I'm working on some things now too, just personally for myself that I'll probably be trying to come out with soon too.
Okay. Cool.
You know, some small like kind of hand done type of things. So I think that'll be pretty cool. And yeah, I've been getting into a lot of like just over the years. As like one of the reasons why I said like I think Africa is like in my future is like I've been doing a lot of kind of studying of like different cultures, African cultures and things like that, and I really was really big into kind of like the ancient like Kemetic like Egyptian stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I've been doing some designs. Like if anybody's seen like some of the stuff going on my Instagram right now, I've been doing a few like concepts around like the ancient symbolism and stuff from the Medu Neter, and trying to like update it and make it into like a new kind of technical kind of look, like a technology computerized look.
Okay.
So I've been kind of playing with that and like some like glitch effects and stuff on it. Cool. And yeah, just like real heavy like vectorized ancient Egyptian like artwork, you know, I've been trying to play with. So those are some things that I've been doing.
Right. So where can people reach you? Where can people reach you on social media?
Yeah, social media. I'm on Instagram at Jordan C Jackson, and then I have a website. It's my portfolio site. People can go and check out. If you want to see like some of the things I've done at UA, and just some personal. I have some personal projects up there too. Some sewing projects and things I've done. And you can get that at jordancjackson.work. Okay. Is the website.
Oh, okay.
.work. Yeah.
Get that work. Get that work. jordancjackson.work.
.work. Yeah, cool, yeah. Man. So that's it. That's all where I'm at on. I think I have a Tumblr out there still. It's probably still jordancjackson.tumblr too. So yeah, I keep the Jordan C Jackson. It's my name, so it's easy to remember.
My name is my name.
Like,
right. I get it. I get it. That's really dope, man.
Well, so at the end of the day, like, what do you want your legacy to be? Like, what do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah, I think about that a lot too. I think. So I don't want to be famous. That's one of the things. I don't really want to be famous. I just like I want to be one of those people that like if you are like into that field or you're into like whatever it is that I'm doing or I end up doing, like you kind of like find out about me and be like, yo, this dude was like he was doing it. You know what I mean? Right. Like I kind of want to be one of those people. Like I don't want to be a household name necessarily, but I think it would be cool for like people that like respect, you know, like design and art and things like that, for them to like kind of find out about me, you know what I mean? And it kind of create that community, you know, of like people that just like the same kind of things I like, you know, and into the same things that it's like, yo, he's one of the dudes that like was doing it, you know, and just kind of had that respect level, you know.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. I think the last few things, just to wrap up with, kind of just talk about some favorite things. So earlier you talked about, you know, you have some coffee table books and stuff like that. Is there any book that you want to recommend, or do you have a favorite book right now that you're in the middle of reading?
Let's see, book I'm in the middle of reading right now. It's a book I started. I haven't finished yet, which was pretty good when I started it out. It's Between the World and Me with Ta-Nehisi Coates' book. Yeah. So that's a good one. I'm also like in the middle of this book too. I use it for references while I'm doing my designs, the Egyptian designs. It's a book called Spiritual Warriors Are Healers. And that's a book too that I'm into. It's by a guy named Mfundishi. It's like a super thick book, but it kind of like breaks down like the spiritual system, the culture, like all those different things. It's thick, but it's got a lot of images and a lot of like art in it. So it's really cool to look at that book. I get a lot of references for my designs from that book. And then like ideas from Massimo Osti. That's the coffee table book. That's a huge book. And it's like super heavy, but it's like really like detailed imagery, like sketches, and like it's like the book is so visual. You could like you could almost like feel like you could go into the pages of the book and like touch the fabric and stuff. It's crazy. Like the lighting on the photos and like the sheer size of the pages, it just makes you feel like you can like get into the book.
I gotta check it out. I gotta check this book out, man.
Yeah, that. And then do I have any other books that I'm on right now? That's probably really it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any movies or videos or anything like that you want to recommend?
Let's see, what movies were pretty dope. Well, I know personally, my favorite movie is Beat Street. That's my favorite movie. That's my favorite movie. Like anytime that movie comes on, like I'm like a kid watching it. Like my father put me on to that movie, and that's what started everything off for me. Like, jumped everything off, like music, like style, like everything. Just seeing like they had the Puma suedes and like the Adidas in the movie, and like the leather bubble jackets. You know what I mean? Like it was just a lot of dope stuff. The airbrush denim, you know, like all that, and then breakdancing, rapping, and then like it was just everything for me in that book. The graffiti in that movie. I mean, and the graffiti and everything. So. I kind of saw like all the elements at once, and that movie just like shocked my brain, you know? So yeah, that's my favorite movie. If you haven't seen Beat Street, I think you should see it immediately.
It's a great movie.
Yeah,
definitely a great movie.
Yeah, it's like my favorite movie.
Cool. Did you have anything?
Nah, I think that's it, man. This so many gems. I'm like processing all of it. This is incredible, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, opening up. We appreciate you taking out the time.
Yeah.
So
anytime.
You are our inaugural branded guest, episode 1.
Oh,
there we go.
The problem is you set a pretty high standard. you gotta knock it out the park inadvertently. So it's gonna be kind of hard to. You're gonna be waiting for the next guest. Like you better tell us something incredible because the first dude. So cool, man. We really appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Did you want to set up the branded 10 thing?
The branded
10?
Oh, yeah. So one of the things that we include is like a companion piece is the branded 10 playlist. So we are going to make Spotify playlists that are like a complement to the podcast. And we got Jordan to create a 10-song playlist. He is volume 1. And we're going to post that as soon as we post the podcast. We're going to have the information in the SoundCloud so that you can just click it and go right to it. And if you like it, hit him. We're going to put his Instagram on there. Tell him how you feel about it.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to be really dope.
Right.
I mean, his taste is dope. So like, I'm like waiting with bated breath trying to figure out.
Right now, I'm working through the podcast. Like, I mean, not the podcast, but the playlist. And I'm trying to figure out like 10 songs, like to narrow it down. Like, what are they gonna be? So when it's posted up though, let me know how y'all feel about it.
Absolutely. I could tell that when I told you about it, you were like same level of like care that you put into your designs. You're like, I gotta tailor this playlist to make it sound dope. So yeah, the branded 10 is our compliment to the podcast. We're gonna release it with every single guest that we have. And if they don't, we just go kick them in the balls. But they, you know what I mean? Like it really lends it. So it lends itself to kind of who this person is, and like gives us a better idea. So man, I'm really glad that you came. Appreciate it.
Glad to have the opportunity.
Did you want to plug your social media one more time? Or anywhere they can contact you? Instagram
is at Jordan C Jackson, and then portfolio site is www.jordancjackson.work.
Cool, definitely. So definitely want to appreciate everybody that took the time out to listen. As far as us, the website for the brand is Debonair Material. I'm pretty sure I'll put out the links for social media. So, Twitter, that's Deb Material, so DEB Material. The Instagram is Debonair Material. We're also on Facebook at Debonair Material. I don't use pretty much any of social media anymore. As far as my personal stuff, I do all the branded stuff.
Right.
Ron, did you want to?
I think all my stuff is Ron is Unthawed. That's RONISUNTHAWED. I was trying to come up with a cool name to say I'm cool, but I'm not a cool person. So like, it's weird because like I would never in real life be like I'm a cool person. Yeah. But I think it's funny. It's like irony or whatever.
Yeah.
So
But he's actually a cool person though.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, if anybody does actually want to reach out to me, my Twitter, which is kind of inactive right now, is Cotillon Smooth. That's like a high school nickname type thing. Long story behind that. Like, long story short, my teammates ended up, calling me that, and that ended up just being everything that I use for social media. Website Debonair Material, Twitter Deb Material, everything else Debonair Material. I'll have links to everything up on the website so you can access all the content, and I think that's pretty much it.
Cool. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate it.
Out.
Peace.